Asset allocation matters way more than you think in retirement. And I'm going to give you an example why. I had someone who reached out recently who said, I want to make sure I'm maxing out my 401k. And they were expecting me to say, good job, because you're on track for retirement. And I didn't. Instead, I said, let me see your investment strategy. And they said, why? And I said, well, currently you're 55 years old. And if you max out your 401k and you put $30,000 in there, it's a little north of that now. But if you are able to do that, that's great. But to be honest, you said your portfolio has about $1 million, right? And they said, correct. And I said, well, if you get a 10% return on that, that's $100,000. So you can max out your portfolio in terms of 401k by putting 30,000 plus in there, or you can invest well and get $100,000 in there. And I said, right now, because of the stage of life you're in, it's more important to invest the right way and less important to add new dollars. I told them that's the exact opposite early on in your career. Early on, you want to absolutely max out your 401k and build up that nest egg. And they said, okay. And I could tell they were kind of hearing me, but they needed a visual. So I said, let's build your plan and let me show you, which I'm going to do for you right now. So if you look at my screen here, this is that person I just mentioned. They're 55 and 54 years old. They have $987,000. They are 54 years old. They plan on retiring at age 62, but it depends on what their portfolio can create for them. So I showed them right now, if you were to work until 62 and only spend $4,000 a month plus $10,000 a year on travel, which is what they initially started with, you can see they're on track to have $2.6 million at the end. However, if they were to have a very conservative portfolio, just as an example, their asset allocation was more conservative, it would result in $1.5 million fewer dollars. If they said, I want the most aggressive portfolio, you can see here, it would result in $832,000 more dollars. Now, by no means would I ever recommend someone takes an aggressive portfolio, because the last thing I want is for someone to lose sleep at night. Meaning, yeah, I know maybe on paper we're invested well, but I can't sleep at night knowing the ups and downs are happening constantly. Then we don't do that. And at the same time, I want to make sure your investing is actually aligned with your personal goals. Meaning, if you want to retire and you want 40 years of income, but you plan on extensive travel in the first 5 years of retirement, I don't want your portfolio fluctuating wildly. I need a piece of it cut off in a super safe mix so that you can absolutely go travel without worrying about what the market does and if that's actually impacting your retirement goals. So I'm going to give you 5 tips here so that you can optimize your asset allocation. Now, real quick, if you want to play around with the tool that I just showed you, it is in the description of this episode and you can check that out. My name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner, host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and Chief Growth Officer here at Root Financial. So number 1 is I want you to think about your dollars as literal dollars that are jogging, running, or walking. Now, I know I have my silly analogies, but I do this so you guys resonate with it. So please let me know in the comments if you do. I want you to have certain dollars that are just walking along. You can at any point tell them, hey, turn around, I want to use you. So those are dollars that we want in generally safer assets like cash or bonds or treasury bills, or we want them in municipal bonds that are highly rated, so they are more safe. Now, this word safe, that's a tricky word, because if we think about it, the word safe, which we all like that word, if you put too much money in what can feel as a safe investment, long-term, it could actually be a big risk because you're losing out to inflation. So I don't like that word safe. I prefer using short-term investments. Short-term, medium-term, long-term. Now within the short, medium, and long-term, there are subdivisions, but to keep it simple here, short-term money, things that you're going to need within 3 years. Medium-term, 3 to 10 years, and long-term, 10 years plus. So make sure you have dollars that are walking, dollars that are jogging, and dollars that are sprinting. Because there's certain dollars, for example, in many cases, it makes sense to touch your Roth account last because it's the best account for tax-free growth. You want those dollars sprinting because the dollars that sprint are likely to make you the most money because they're fluctuating the most. Number 2 is know the difference between risk capacity and risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is how do we feel about markets that move? So for example, if I were to ask you your risk tolerance, you might say you're a 6 out of 10. I don't love the question because if markets go down and I ask you your risk tolerance, you'll say you're a 2 out of 10, which is not really helpful for our planning purposes. However, risk capacity says if you were a robot, what would your portfolio allow for? So pretend you have $1 million and you want to spend $50,000 a year. I want to make sure we have enough money super safe, once again, safe in quotation marks, short term, so that you can absolutely tell those walking dollars to turn around and get them easily. So minimum $50,000, we need that times 3 years, that's $150,000. Plus, we want some in the medium term as well. Let's call it 2 more years. So now I probably want $250,000 of the $1 million to be in short-term investments. That tells me that you could have 25% in what I call war chest or short-term investments, the other 75% growing, and you'd be perfectly fine. Now that's a 75% equity allocation and 25% fixed income cash. Some of you go, well, that's just, that feels too high to me. Well, to be honest, it totally depends on your expenses. Pretend you didn't want $50,000 a year, but you wanted $100,000 a year of your $1 million. And we want 5 years of short-term investments. You probably are going to want in the range of $300,000 to $500,000, which means we'd maybe want more of a 50-50 allocation. You see how it depends on how much you want to spend? That's very different to what most people do, which is, I'm getting older, so I should just have more bonds. No, let's look at this logically. As always, thank you for watching my videos. We're going to get right back to today's video, but first, check this out.
Gary, what is this?
Aloha, babe. Come sit down. I saved you a seat. The luau is about to begin.
I said I wanted to visit Hawaii, not experience it.
Consumer Reports says this is a much better value. So put them on. Enjoy. We'll be in Hawaii.
Oh, Gary.
Haven't you been saving long enough? Talk to a Root financial advisor and get the most life out of your money.
Look, we're fire dancers.
Oh, you burned me.
Now, hopefully you laughed a little bit and that was a fun commercial. But the reason we made it is to show yourselves, hey, if I did save and invest well, maybe I should take the trips to Hawaii. Maybe I should consider retiring earlier or redating my spouse. Maybe it's been a while because you've been working for 30, 40 years and you don't have as much time to dedicate to one another. So we always say the sign of a good financial plan is a life well lived. Now let's get back to today's video. Tip number 3 here is factor in guaranteed income source. Let's use the example I shared just a moment ago. If you're going to be living off $50,000, just to keep it really simple here, but you have $10,000 coming in from part-time work and another 10 from Social Security, just to keep it really simple as an example, that means you only need $30,000 from your portfolio. Times that by 5 years, that's $150,000, which tells me you could in that instance have an 85% equity allocation and 15% fixed income allocation. Now you might be uncomfortable with the ups and downs, the volatility that comes with it, and if it causes you to lose sleep at night, then I don't recommend it. But what I don't want you to do is become overly conservative, or what I prefer, unnecessarily conservative. Tip number 4 is follow a glide path. What the heck does that mean? Think about it like going bowling. If you're going bowling, your goal is to hit over as many pins as you can, but there's a cheat code to bowling, and the cheat code is bowling with the bumpers up. And that's my role for our clients. Our job is to go to our client and say, hey, right now markets are doing well. We want you to actually spend a little bit more. So here's your guardrails. Here's bumper 1, here's bumper 2. Markets are doing well. You told us you wanted to travel, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's time to travel a little bit more because markets are doing well. But that means in certain years when markets aren't doing as well, we're saying, hey, you're getting closer to the lower guardrail, the lower bumper here. We want you to understand and be willing to shift based off how markets are performing, which should not add anxiety. It should do the exact opposite. Because if you know that when markets are doing well, you can go spend more and enjoy it more, and when markets aren't doing well, that you should scale back temporarily for a small portion to give you confidence that you will never run out of money, that seems like a worthwhile trade-off. And then number 5, use a withdrawal strategy. This is so important. I talk about this all the time in my videos. Here's an example. If you look at my screen here, this is the exact retirement analysis tool I'll use with my clients. It's extremely detailed. I gave you examples of investing differently. So if you click on balance growth and you refresh the page, you'll see exactly how much would be left over or potentially lost. $1 million of lost value. However, maybe you slept better at night and you didn't want to die with 2.8 million. 1.8 million may have been sufficient for you. This is what a lot of people look at when it comes to retirement planning. Not me. I prefer to go to the details section and click withdrawal rates. This is where I can see the withdrawal rate of a portfolio. And if I see a withdrawal rate like this of 8, maybe 9%, their retirement might look like it's on track, but the real risk here is markets don't do well and they might have to take 8, 9, or 10% of their portfolio, which would really change how much they want to spend for the rest of their life, assuming markets don't do well and they just decide to not follow any of the rules that I talk about in my videos. So those are 5 tips. I hope you can see the importance of asset allocation. I put out a video just a little bit ago where I talked about superhero accounts, a brokerage account, the power of investing well. If you literally search my name, superhero, it will come up here. And this is so important because if you want to invest in your brokerage account well, this is the primary account most people pull from to retire early. You definitely don't want to overlook the pro tips in this video. So hopefully you check that out afterwards. And finally, if you want a holistic strategy to optimize everything you're working so hard for, this is what we do here at Root Financial. I encourage you to go to our website and you can see a little link in the upper right, a little button, that says schedule a call here. Actually, I think it says see if you're a fit. We changed the wording there recently. And if you click on that, you'll be asked a few questions. From there, you can see about working with us, and that's it. See you guys next time.